If you're a mom trying to decide whether or not to have a home birth, you can add me to the list of positive home birth experiences. I'm a first-time mom. My daughter was born at home. Everything went great. It didn't go as expected, but it went well, no complications. And we're actually expecting baby number 2 in just about 3 months. We're actually not going to be having her at home if everything goes as planned, and I'll explain more about that at the end of the video. But I wanted to share my positive home birth experience because I hear so many negative stories online, and also it's so fun thinking about that birthing experience. Part of it, I feel like I wasn't even really present and enjoying it, but I also can think of several highlights that were so memorable, and I really am looking forward to having my next baby. I'm not really nervous about labor at all. I'm more nervous about making sure that I don't accidentally have her in the car. That part is what stresses me out the most. But I'm gonna share a little bit about my labor story. So here's a few highlights off the bat. My husband was not there for the delivery. I expected to have a 20 to 30 hour labor because that's what I've heard the average first-time mom experiences. Mine was 60 hours. And then she was born on the specific day I wanted her to be born. And also I ended up almost passing out. At least I was blacking out. Sound was going away. My vision was clouding twice after giving birth. And my midwife said that's just because I had such a long and exhausting labor. Before I share my story, I wanted to say that I'm not new to YouTube world. I have a nature YouTube channel and I used to have a theology YouTube channel. But now YouTubing about motherhood and my journey as a first-time mom, this is a completely new area for me and I love it. I love YouTube. It's always been a hobby of mine for years, and now it's such a fun thing being able to YouTube my life. My daily life as a mom. And so if you're interested in going on that journey with me, please consider subscribing to my channel. I can't wait to connect with other moms on the online space because I feel like I have learned so much from other women, and I can't wait to share my experiences with others too. So I fully went into the birth of my daughter expecting to have her about 2 weeks after her due date, because that's what I've heard first-time moms usually go, about a week or two after the due date. And I was preparing for the worst, right? Well, my due date was on the 27th, and I started going into labor on the morning of the 28th at 4 a.m. I was getting up for my usual bathroom break in the middle of the night, and I noticed when I got up, I was like, man, she's really low and heavy down there. And as I waddled to the bathroom, I prayed, God, can I please have my baby born on Rosh Chodesh Shvat, which is going to be in another 2 or 3 days. I'm Jewish. Rosh Chodesh Shvat is the first day of a new month called Shvat. And it was going to be a really auspicious time to have a baby because a new moon is associated with the feminine aspect. So having a girl, I wanted her born on this specific holy day. And as I got up to use the bathroom, feeling her really heavy, saying this prayer, went to use the bathroom, laid back down, and immediately I started feeling contractions. And I made the mistake of waking up my husband. I should have just kept that to myself, but I was so excited, and I knew that I was probably not going to have her for a couple more days because the early labor can take a long time for a first-time mom. But I was so excited to share it with my husband. And for the rest of, that was 4 a.m., so I didn't sleep much after that. But I started noticing I was getting contractions a minute long, 5 to 7 minutes apart. Basically the whole rest of the day. But I continued to live my day like normal. I noticed weird things like going over speed bumps or braking in the car. I noticed that would always trigger a contraction in me. I knew also at nighttime things would probably pick up in intensity and frequency. So that night I went to bed, and sure enough, the contractions were about every 5 minutes, a minute long, and they were more intense. I tried to sleep as best as I could between those contractions, but people that sleep during labor, I don't know how you do it because it's such obvious discomfort. I don't know how you can sleep through contractions. Anyway, so I did not sleep much that night before. Waking up on the morning of the 29th, I had the idea, because I had already informed my midwives that I was experiencing early labor, I had the idea I should see if it's okay for me to go see a chiropractor, because I heard in early labor that a chiropractor can help things get aligned and make things go quicker. And so I scheduled a chiropractic appointment on the afternoon of the 29th, and she adjusted me and said, you can expect things to start picking up in intensity pretty shortly after this appointment. And so I went back home and I had the most intense urge to get my house ready for the baby. I was like, this is it. This is my last opportunity to get everything ready before I have the baby. And so, I was trying to get like things off the floor, make sure all the laundry was done and everything. That night, my mom was there too, and my husband, and we were just like, all right, we gotta get stuff, the birthing tub where it needs to be. I went to bed that night, and the contractions immediately were so intense that I was biting my nails off and pulling on my hair, just like with every single one. It was like way more intense than the past 2 nights. And they were still, just as the past couple of days, they were every 5 minutes apart and a minute long, but the intensity was so different than the past 2 days. So I knew that adjustment worked, but I still had to go through that all that night and the next day. I did call my midwife and told her, like, hey, the contractions are really intense. Like, I don't know, like, I still don't know, like, am I close to having the baby? And she said, you'll know, things will change. They'll shift even from what I'm feeling. So it was around like 3 a.m., I think, a night of not sleeping at all, that I got up to use the bathroom, and I noticed, oh, I've lost all of the mucus plug. I'm flushing out all this weird stuff in the toilet. I was just like frozen on the toilet, shaking like a leaf. And I don't know if it was an adrenaline rush, like from fear and excitement, or if it was just the hormonal shifts and stuff. But I was like, I need help. I didn't know how to explain it, but it's like all of a sudden I had this feeling like I need help. And I know that no one can do this for me, but I had this feeling like it was time to call to get help. And also while I was on the toilet, I started feeling like I really needed to poop. And I heard a lot of women experience having diarrhea in early labor. And so I was like, oh, maybe this is it. But I was like trying to, push out the fact that I need to poop. I did not realize that was the baby. I've heard that a baby can feel like you need to poop, but I didn't realize that it would be so. My midwife told me that everything feels the same down there. Like, even though it feels like you need to poop, it's just you're feeling the baby just entirely in that area. And so as I was sitting on the toilet, having this feeling like I need help, I reached for my phone, but I was like, I don't have the energy, or I don't want to have to call her and talk to her. Like, I can call her, but I don't want to have to talk to her, the doula. So I was yelling for my husband, and because I was in the bathroom, our bathroom's right there. I was in the bathroom yelling for my husband, but I think our bedroom door was shut. He couldn't hear me. And so I called the doula. Finally, mustered the strength to call the doula, tried to do it between a contraction, and she didn't answer. And she said, well, if I don't answer this one, call this phone number, and I should answer that one. Called that number, she didn't answer either, so I just left her a voicemail. And then I called my mom's number, because I was like, she will probably have her phone on. And this was around, maybe it was about 5 or 6 a.m. actually by that time. And I called my mom, and I just said, Mom, can you come over here? And that was it. I just hung up, and she came over in about 15 minutes. And by that time, I was off the toilet and standing against this hutch right here. So finally, I yelled for my husband and told him, hey, call the midwives. And he got up immediately, called the midwives. They said to make sure we were in contact with the doula. And by that time, she had gotten my voicemail and text messages. And I think it was about 7 o'clock when everyone arrived, 7 a.m. And they immediately got to work inflating the pool and filling it up with water. Our hot water heater ran out really quick, so we had to go to our upstairs neighbor, because we're in a duplex. We had to ask him to get hot water and bring it down in buckets. And I just, the whole time, was going through the process of just wading through each contraction and really groaning. I remember just, by the time everyone was awake, I kind of just was groaning the whole time. After everyone got the tub set up and everything, I sent my husband away. And this was kind of the plan from the start. There's a Jewish custom for a husband to not be there when his wife is delivering. I definitely thought I was a little bit further and closer to giving birth than I actually was. And I might have sent him away a little earlier than necessary. It's just a certain Jewish opinion that your husband's not there. And we decided to follow that. Not everybody does it. Not everybody has to do it. It's completely different opinions, but it's what we chose to do. In retrospect, not having my husband there was probably the best thing ever, because I really realized after giving birth that having my midwife there, the midwife in training, my mom, and the doula, that this feminine energy there of all these women who have given birth themselves was the closest that I could connect to every generation before me that's had children. And it was like the epitome of feminine energy, maternal instinct, evolutionary biology, all of those things. And so it was like awesome just having me and these women. And my husband was upstairs with our neighbor in the duplex, saying psalms, saying prayers. And so we're not sure if we'll do that again next time. I'm hoping something like that will happen, but we have a little more logistics to figure out because now we have a daughter. So getting back to it, I labored with intense contractions the whole day. I was in and out of the tub. Finally, I was exhausted, and the midwives told me, just go lay down in the bed for a bit and rest. And so I just laid down, I think for an hour. I didn't sleep, but I just rested. And I was like, I'm exhausted. Not only have I been in labor intensely and all night long, I guess that was considered active labor all night long, but I'm also really not experiencing much progress, and I don't want to have to get transferred to the hospital. And I had this resolve, like, I have no choice, I have to do this. And so something in me snapped, and I was ready to go back to the tub and just know I've got to do this. So I had already been pushing for about, let's see, that was 7, 8, well, if you include the whole time on the toilet, I don't know, I'd been pushing for a long time. And by the time I got back to the tub, it was around like noon, I think, that I came back to the tub and was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna finish this. And I think they noticed that something clicked a little bit in me and that I was a lot more determined and to make this happen. And so I mostly stayed in the tub, and they started noticing some progress. They noticed that I was fully dilated by that time, and they were starting to see the baby crowning, and they could see her head. And they told me she had hair. And they said, do you want to feel it? And I was like, no. Some women totally want to like feel everything down there. To me, I'm just like, no, I'm good. So while I was in the tub, I was like, I really want to move back to the toilet because I felt like I was progressing there really well. And for some reason, I kept feeling like I'm going to have her in the bathroom over the toilet. And I don't know what it is. I think it's just like when you're flushing all of that stuff out of your body, where do you want to be? You want to be on the toilet. So I noticed that every time that I was in there by myself, I would have a lot of progress, and they kept the lights low, the music on. And finally, while I was there, it was like a water balloon popped and my water broke. And then I was like, great, I know this is going to mean the contractions are even more intense. And they were, but I also knew that I was really close to having her. So all the women were in there. It was probably like 3 p.m. or something like that I was pushing. They were noticing progress and everything. The baby was actually coming out. And then finally, she got to the point of crowning, and she was there at that ring of fire. It was the worst pain ever. And I didn't have the strength after all of this time, hours of labor during the day, not sleeping at night. I didn't have the strength to just push her out. I had to wait wait for that contraction and push while her head was like right there at the ring of fire, stretching everything. I had to wait until finally that next contraction to push her out. And so she was born 3:30 something p.m. in the afternoon on January 30th, which was Rosh Chodesh Shvat, the day I wanted her to be born. And I remember holding her, and I just kept saying over again, I did it, I did it, I did it. Because that was my whole thing. Like, my biggest fear of childbirth is like, would I actually be able to do it? And I did it. And so it was just such an incredible experience. I remember holding my newborn daughter. She pooped and peed immediately in my hands twice. And it was just so beautiful. I can't wait to experience it again with my second. So yeah, I experienced that blissful newborn state when you're just holding your baby fresh there, but also I knew that I would have to, birth the placenta, and I was also exhausted. So my mom took the baby from me pretty early on. They cut the cord and she took her. I was okay with that because I was just so exhausted. And they pulled me to stand so that I could get in a position and tidy up things a bit before I birthed the placenta. And I noticed as I stood up that I was starting to black out on the sides, and I was losing hearing. And they were like, well, what's wrong? Are you okay? Do you need to lay down? And so they had me lay on the bathroom floor. And they gave me a shot of Pitocin, and they pushed out the placenta, and I delivered the placenta soon after. They brought me some grape juice so that I could get my blood sugar up, and that helped me get rebalanced so that I could make my way to the bed. And I was definitely so exhausted. All of those hours of not eating, which was completely my choice. I could have eaten, but I wasn't. You're not really hungry when you're in labor like that. It was really hard for me to actually eat afterward, but I like forced myself to eat. At one point, I took my baby to nurse, and that was just such a sweet thing, holding her there. Nursing is a little trick in itself, man. My mom texted my husband to have him come down and see her, and it was just the most precious time. And it goes by so quick. It's just those moments. I wish I could like freeze them and relive them over and over again, but they passed so quickly. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my version of a positive first-time mom home birth story, and I hope you're encouraged that maybe you can do it too if you're debating on whether or not to do it. So I mentioned we're actually not going to be having our second daughter at home. We're planning to have her at a birth center just because honestly, I would have done a home birth again. My husband would have done the home birth again, but we decided to go with a birth center because the birth center accepts insurance and our midwives with home birth did not. And that seems to be pretty standard that a lot of midwives won't accept insurance. And we just decided that financially, it made more sense for us to go have our baby in the birthing center, which we really like. And it's just like a home birth. The stressful thing is going to be the transportation there. And I don't know at what point I'm going to leave and head there because I don't want to go too early. And I obviously don't want to go too late and have the baby in the car. But yeah, we are very excited about having our next daughter. And so I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, if you've had a home birth or if you're planning a home birth, any of that, I would love to hear your thoughts and your story in the comments below. Thanks for watching.